All right. So welcome everybody once again. And like Jennifer said, this presentation is just sort of meant to be a broad overview of LinkedIn, really to get people who are kind of new to the platform started with using the platform. It's a very good idea for all college students to build a LinkedIn profile, and we're going to talk about the importance of that this morning. So we really want this to be sort of a general information session about LinkedIn, but also give you the basics for getting your profile started. And at the end, I'm going to let you know how you can also schedule with Career Services, because we actually have an appointment type about working with you on building your LinkedIn profile. And so I can walk you through how to schedule with us at the end. So just kind of wanted to start out, what is LinkedIn? Maybe you haven't, really used it yet, and you're not really quite sure what it's all about. It is the most widely used professional social media network at currently about 740 million users worldwide, and that's in over 200 countries and territories. So it's pretty widely used now. I don't think that was the case maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It was probably about half that number. So it's really grown here in the last, I would say 5 to 10 years. Did you know, so just a little quick fact about LinkedIn, LinkedIn functions like an online resume. So it's definitely something that, like I said, it's a given for college students to have like an online resume out there, and LinkedIn allows you to do that. But it's also a powerful platform for networking. So people use it for networking for different reasons. People who have their own business, or people who do contract work, or who are looking to do contract work, often use LinkedIn to find clients, business clients. Job seekers use it to find out about job opportunities. And then most professionals use it just to network with other professionals in their industry. So this idea of networking is not like a one-size-fits-all type of thing. People are going to get on there and network in different ways for different purposes. And we'll talk to you a little bit this morning about some strategies and tips for the different purposes that you might use it for. Okay. And LinkedIn, like why LinkedIn? Okay. I work with job seekers all the time, and we tell them that it's not a matter of if, you will be searched by employers. They'll take a look and see, do you have a presence online? Many people have social media in a social sense, so they have platforms that they use for social purposes and connecting. It's really important to have a platform that is professional, and that's why we highly recommend LinkedIn. It's the most widely used professional social media site. And the thing is, when employers just Google your name, and that's what they'll do, they'll just Google your name and your city, state, your LinkedIn profile, if you have one, will rise to the top of the search. And that's really important, because you do want your LinkedIn or your online resume to be the first thing that employers see when they search you. So we know that 60% of employers use social media, and I think that number is growing, to perform research on candidates. And so having a LinkedIn is really, really key. Okay. I also wanted to kind of talk a little bit about why hiring managers view social media. So, for different reasons. And this was a Career Builder survey where we collected or looked at this data. So about 65% of hiring managers said that they looked at the candidate's social media to see, just in general, do they have a professional presence? They used to look at the resume and cover letter, look for mistakes and errors, and that was one way to tell if the person was professional. Now they have this whole new format. If we have misspellings and sections left incomplete in LinkedIn, it doesn't look as good if you have like a polished profile that all the sections are filled out and there's no misspellings or errors. So just in general, does the candidate have a professional presence? 51% said that they looked at the social media to see if the candidate is a good fit for the organization. So, what are their involvements? Are they well-rounded? How immersed are they in that career field or industry? Are they active online? That kind of thing. 45% looked at the profile to see if the candidate has the right qualifications for the position. Okay, so resume is one way of seeing if the candidate has qualifications. The online resume or the LinkedIn is another. So that's another reason for checking you out. And then 35% of hiring managers said that they just took a look at the candidate's profile to see if they're well-rounded. Are they involved in professional associations? Are they involved in campus clubs and organizations? Do they do volunteer work, etc.? Okay. So just a little background on why you are searched. And you will be searched. And then I wanted to, from this point, just go ahead and send it over to Jennifer, and I'll stop sharing here so that she can start to share and actually pull up her LinkedIn to show you. So I'll give it over to Jennifer.
Great, good morning. Let's see, I'm pushing share buttons. Let's see if all this comes through correctly. So like Amy mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can you see a LinkedIn page at this point?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
So when you log into LinkedIn, this is what you see. This is your feed, your landing page. But real quick, in the chat menu, there's a little chat bubble icon. If you could go ahead and say, let me know, do you have a LinkedIn profile? So I'm going to write that question in the chat. That way your chat window pops up. So question to all the students joining today, do we have LinkedIn profiles? So I see a couple yes coming in. Great. That is fantastic. All right, so as we go throughout this, I'm going to give a guided tour of my profile in LinkedIn and share some tips of how you could leverage different parts of this in your job search and also building your online presence. Okay, cool. So to sign up for this, you go to linkedin.com, you create a profile just like you would if you were signing up for Facebook or Twitter for the first time. So you create the account, and then it'll step you through adding information. So the first time you do this, chances are you're just copy and pasting information from your resume as a starting point, and then building from there. So here's our newsfeed, and I'm going to go ahead and enter my profile page. So fun fact, this statistic continues to grow, but LinkedIn members with a photo receive far more engagement, 20 times more profile views, and 9 times more connection requests. So it's very important that you make sure to have some sort of reasonably professional photo. So this is a head and shoulders shot. And this is the type of thing you click on it, you can go ahead and edit it. It'll help you zoom in and zoom out. But generally speaking, gotta have a photo. So show of hands, how many of us have photos? Or throw that in the chat window. So we're saying, do you have a profile pic? Okay. So we definitely want to do something like this. And you'll see a variety of these. You want to be on like a white background. You could just use a wall. Some natural lighting helps, right? So you don't want the light behind you. You want the light coming in from your front. And make sure that we have this taken care of. The other thing you see up here, this background image, this is, again, you could relate this kind of to Facebook or Twitter where you have a background. I see a lot of times people will put a city skyline in their background, or if you're a librarian, you might have books. You know, depending on your industry, if you're a scientist, you might have a lab environment here. So this is something you could get creative on, or go ahead and leave blank for the time being. Think about how that ties into the message you're sending. I here have happy tree flower type pictures, and that's primarily to say I'm approachable. So friendly person here, feel free to approach me, right? All right, so as we scroll down, you'll notice here we have business instructor higher education. I'm going to go in and edit this. So you can see we've got these little edit marks. And this is what we call a headline. Now the tool's going to default to putting your current position as your headline. So that's a little repetitive and doesn't provide as much value as providing a generalized statement. So you would want to say, you know, student graduating such and such date. You would want to say pursuing career in such and such field. If you have experience in certain areas, this is where you want to say generally what field, career type do you exist in. So for me, I'm a business instructor in higher education. And then as you look at my specific position, then we get into the title and the location. So I highly recommend adjusting your headline to be a broader statement that helps recruiters understand where you fit in their puzzle. Next up, we have this about section. So in here, you're going to have a character limit, so you have to be mindful about how much writing you're doing. But this summary is like your elevator pitch. If you could only say a few things to a person, what would those few things be, right? So these are the things I'm passionate about. These are the things I have experience with. This is the direction I'm headed. If there are notable achievements that you really want to elevate, we could put those here. But think elevator pitch and make sure that that you are definitely using this space wisely. Now, I have seen a few different tone of voice options. Sometimes this is written in first person, which is totally okay. So it could be, hi, I'm Jen. I work at a community college. In industry, I led multi-million-dollar brands and won marketing awards. And today I focus on improving student success, right? Your nice little summary. Or you could do a third person like I have here, which is more bio-like. So that's flexible. Next, you're going to find that the LinkedIn page offers all sorts of different, we'll call these widgets, but you can add in posts, articles, links, media. So if you are, for example, in graphic design and you want to highlight some of your work, you could throw a couple projects in here by using the media option. So in my case, you'll see here, I'm linking to OhioLink where we have an online textbook. And that's a project I worked on. For your first pass at LinkedIn, don't feel that you have to focus on something featured. But depending on your field of study, this might be something, especially if you're highly visual, that you really want to leverage. Next, this is what I see because I'm me. You as a user, if you were to go to my page, linkedin.com/in/Jen McCord, you would not see this analytic data. You personally would want to monitor this. I'm at an all-star rating, so that means I've filled in all the pieces and I've connected to lots of people and I participate on a regular basis in the LinkedIn community by sharing articles, by commenting on friends and family posts. So you can see what your rating is, and naturally over time you want to work towards higher rankings. This also helps make me more visible in searches. And then here we have this dashboard. This is a fun thing about LinkedIn. It gives you a little bit of spy powers. So unlike Facebook, where you can't tell who saw your page, unless they've made it known by commenting or liking, here we can see what's going on. So I could see who's viewed my profile. And you'll notice I do not pay for the premium version. As a student, I do not recommend paying for the premium version of LinkedIn. That's not necessary. Paid users tend to be human resource managers who use this tool a lot and need additional features, or people who are in sales. So if you have a small business and you really need to promote your business by reaching out to cold prospects, individuals you don't necessarily know, if you pay, then LinkedIn will give you that ability to reach out to people you're not connected to. In the free version, you need to be connected and then you can communicate easily. So here, if I were job hunting, I might find something interesting here. In the past, I've seen, oh, I applied for this job and oh, look, the HR manager at that company looked at my profile. Good to know they received my application. Very interesting. I might send a follow-up email sometime soon. Currently, this is, for example, a student. And then some of this information is locked down because I'm not doing the paid version. All right, so let me pause there for a second. That's a few different bits of information. Feel free to add questions, comments into the chat window, or if you want to unmute yourself with questions, please feel free to do that. You can always redirect in the direction of your choosing. Another thing I'll quickly point out here, we have our post views. And what's going on in post view land once it loads? Okay, so here are different articles that I've seen that I then either shared or I went ahead and made a comment on. So for example, here is an article from Fast Company. This resonated with me. I believe in what this article is saying. So I included a quote from the article. We don't hire people to bake brownies, we bake brownies to hire people. I'm like, yes. So putting a little bit of your ideals out there and saying, okay, this is the type of educator I am. Other fun stuff. Going back to our profile, we'll continue down. So we have all this activity, and the activity are times where I've congratulated somebody or I liked an article. Okay, so I do see a question. If you don't have projects or a lot of experience or volunteer, how do you make yourself noticeable? All right, so one thing I would recommend from the get-go as a student is to really expand on the types of learnings you've had in the classroom, right? So if somebody's hiring or if they're the leader of an organization or an HR, it's possible they may not know your curriculum as well as you do, right? So this is an opportunity to explain, these are the types of classes I've learned. These are important key things I know how to do as a result of these classes. This is how it would apply to this work environment, that kind of thing. So I would really expand on your knowledge. And if there's additional community involvement type things you want to talk about, making sure to tie that back to broader concepts of how it relates to the workforce, right? So I volunteer at, and this is hypothetical, maybe you volunteer at a food pantry and you work the register and you check people in and out, and what kind of skills does that relate to? And how could that apply to your future job, right? Feel free to let me know if you want me to continue to expand or have follow-up questions. Happy to do that. And we'll keep an eye on the chat.
I was going to make a comment, Jennifer, on something you said earlier about the profile strength. When we're working with students to help them build a profile in a career services meeting, it is not uncommon to have that profile strength indicator go from beginner to all-star, or I mean, at least intermediate, just from like a half-hour session and working with a student. So it's very attainable, especially if you complete all the suggested sections, or at least, 80% or most of the suggested sections completely. That's going to bring up that profile strength indicator. I just wanted to make that point.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. All right. Scrolling down, our next section is going to be experience. And when you first create your profile, it'll help walk you through adding experience, but we would go ahead and, if we wanted to add more, hit the plus, add in our title, pick one of these. As we type in a company, so Columbus State Community College, it's gonna, if that company has a LinkedIn profile, you can link to it this way, right? So we could go ahead and pick something we know, and location, dates. But basically, as we go through, we want to fill in as much of this as possible. And for your description, chances are you have something that you can copy and paste from your resume as a starting point. So you definitely want to list out that experience. If we're a more established person in the workforce, sometimes a rule of thumb can be to show 10 to 15 years of worth of experience, because we don't want to date ourselves too much, right? We don't want to give away our age. Whereas at the same time, if we're maybe earlier in our career, we might put additional items as experience. So can a practicum be listed as experience? I'm assuming that was like on-site working with an employer or, right? So if it's more internship and less classroom and more on-site or working with an actual company or hospital, then yes. Does that help? Tell me more. Right. Okay, I'll give you a minute to type there. All right, other fun stuff. So we're going through, we've added a bunch of work experience or whatever experience we feel is applicable. All right, and then education. So interestingly, see this 3-bar thing here, right here? As you hover over, we can go ahead and drag that and rearrange it up. So right now I'm just scrolling up and it did not snap where I wanted it to. Okay, what did I do? Gone crazy. I've lost it. Okay, but conceptually, perhaps it would help if I zoom out since my work experience is a little long here. But you can go ahead and rearrange these pieces. So if we wanted to say, I'm going to talk about education first because that's where I'm strongest, we could go ahead and do that. Zooming back in. And again, as a student, I would make sure to be pretty detailed in the description area of especially the education parts. So for me, a couple noteworthy things, I wanted to make sure people looking at my profile knew what graduate hours I took and that I also participated in this extra thing. So here are little extra things I did that are noteworthy and good conversation starters for an interview, right? Anything you put in here may result in someone scrolling through and saying, I want to ask a follow-up question about this. So be prepared to talk about it. Next category, I have some licenses and certifications. This may or may not apply to you depending on the industry, but again, lots of different areas you can fill in on LinkedIn. Volunteer experience. Absolutely, if you have volunteer experience, include it. However, sometimes you might want to mask some of the details related to that volunteer experience. In my case, I was a volunteer photographer for, as you see here, medical research fundraising. Technically, the organization was JDRF, Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. So the concern is if I say I volunteered for JDRF, a diabetes group, then does that imply to the reader that I have diabetes? And is that a medical condition I want to be disclosing at this point? Now, in my case, I just happened to volunteer with the organization. I was connected to it through some friends and family. But nonetheless, we want to be mindful about what we're disclosing, right? We don't want to put medical issues out there. We don't want to necessarily put political or religious affiliations out there. So what we want to do is when we're talking about volunteer, maybe it's volunteer at church, but what portion of the church? Were you doing additional childcare things? Were you helping with fundraising? Were you helping feed people? You know, so how we phrase these things in a more generalized way to make sure that we're not sharing too much of dicey topics. All right. Just checking the chat, see if there's anything else. Amy, do you want to jump in an extra 2 cents? All right, onward. So this is really important. Skills and endorsements. When you first create your profile or earlier into your development, you absolutely want to add a skill. So the skills, these are key terms that are going to be used in search engines by recruiters looking on LinkedIn, trying to find people. So if we're looking through here, I could say real estate. Real estate is a skill I have. And you want to go ahead and type in all the reasonable skills. What are the key terms you want associated with you? So these might be, if you were to go to a job hunting website like Indeed.com and look for positions that you have an interest in, and then notice what sort of qualifications and skills are required, that might give you a good idea of what skills we're looking for. So if we see something really broad like accounting, that key term comes up time and time again on all the jobs that you're interested in, and you have taken accounting classes, let's throw accounting into your skills group here. Now, what's interesting is over time, LinkedIn will prompt fellow users in a pop-up and say, hey, you know Jennifer, does she know marketing strategy? And it'll just be a real quick pop-up. And you'll see that too as a user, yes, no, and it'll give you a few people and a few terms real quick when you log in. So over time, I've had this profile for a while. 44 people have said, yeah, I know Jen, she knows marketing strategy. So if I were job hunting, I could kind of help point to any of these people and say, here, talk to them. Don't believe me. This is third-party validation. So this adds additional credibility to your skill set of these people have endorsed and said, yeah, this person knows this thing. And you do have control over it. If there's somebody here that for some reason you don't want their endorsement to show up, you can go ahead and make it go away.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Jennifer, I was muted before. This is Amy.
Yeah.
When you were asking that, I was like talking and then realizing I was muted and you started again. I didn't want to interrupt you. But everything you're saying is great so far. And you know, the skills section, while we're on this section, that's something that I've noticed when working with students, that they tend to be on the modest side, and they don't list all the skills that they could feature in this section. Working with a career counselor in a LinkedIn appointment can be helpful because we review so many resumes for so many of the different programs and majors at the college. So like I could probably rattle off 10 nursing skills right at this moment. I could probably rattle off like 10 software development skills. So sometimes career counselors can help, or your instructors can help you to know like what are the key industry specific skills for your career path. You know, I would definitely put those industry specific skills in there. And then you can, you know, work your way down to the soft skills, you know, the skills that make us all good employees, like time management, organization, project management, leadership, you know. So, I mean, having, you know, the truth is having the hard skills or the industry specific skills and the soft skills is what helps to make you that well-rounded candidate. And if you need help coming up with skills, visit career services, talk to your instructors, talk to other people in your program of study, etc. Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm scrolling down. The next area is recommendations. Recommendations can be incredibly powerful. Again, that third-party validation where a recruiter doesn't have to call me, get my references list, track them down, get those people to return phone calls, none of that. This is a very quick way for some additional external validation. So here we have recommendations where I have used this little ask for a recommendation. This pops up and then you can send a message to someone. I'm just making up words here, right? And you reach out to them, and ideally this is someone you've worked really well with, who knows you well. And you could have a few different perspectives. Some could be maybe a peer, like a coworker, maybe a boss, maybe a subordinate, someone who's worked under you. So maybe you're the lead for your shift, and you have some people who work underneath you where you do their scheduling and you help them out and you've trained them, things like that. So you've got all these different layers. You ask for the recommendation, and then they'll send something back to you. And you have the ability to accept or reject it. So if somebody writes something that you're like, I'm not sure that's really what I wanted to say here, you can go ahead and send it back to them and say, hey, thanks, mind deleting this sentence, whatnot. You don't want to do this blind. This is a reasonable request, but it does require some effort on their part. So you want to make sure that you reach out to them outside of the network. Maybe you see them face-to-face at work, or at an event, and you ask them at that time, hey, Jay, I'm trying to build up my LinkedIn profile. Would you be willing to do a recommendation for me? And then they'll say, yeah, sure, no problem. Send me a request. then you send the request. So you don't want to just send these blind. You want to reach out to them first, get some buy-in. You might even have some suggestions of, yeah, I'm really trying to stress my customer service skills. Would you be willing to write me a recommendation? And then that helps them frame it a bit. The higher ranking people, if you're talking to a CEO, chances are they won't want to write anything because their time is very precious. So you might need to take a first draft of what recommendation you're looking for and provide it, and then they'll make adjustments from there. So that's something you would do offline via email or in person, and then send this request. This is powerful stuff. Once you have these recommendations, you have them forever. So it's definitely worth your time. And when applying for jobs, you can copy and paste or print this page and include it in your application package. Oftentimes, employers will have an additional files option. So you upload your resume, your cover letter, and then it'll say, hey, anything else you want to add? Yes, I would like to add this. And I'll include these recommendations. So there's an example. All right, any questions, comments so far? All right, so.
I just put a reminder in the chat, just letting students know it is so important to get to know 2 key instructors in your program of study, 2 or 3 would be great, whom you can use for references for jobs, recommendations for LinkedIn, like Jennifer was talking about, scholarship references, you name it. Like having those connections and building them now, and you build them by being involved and engaged in your classes, by asking questions, by reaching out to professors to see how you can supplement your learning with research or other learning, so just making those relationships while you're still a student. Just a little success tip I wanted to throw out there.
Absolutely. And personally, I know in my program, in the capstone and the internship course, those instructors, especially if you're working with students in their last semester, end up serving as references and helping with that more and more. So for example, here's a student I had in a capstone class, and she asked for a recommendation, and she was very active in class, and I knew what I could say about her that was positive and true, and absolutely, so this came together.
And also, Jennifer, it looks like Sheena Jones has a hand raised. Do you have a question, Sheena?
I'm Sheena, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Hi.
Welcome.
It was something earlier she said, and I was driving, taking the kids to school. But it was, I have a LinkedIn. I don't know how to use it, and probably looking right. It was about. I've been under disability for almost 14 years, and I was trying to see how this is my first time in college, and I'm not really like I don't hang with people or know people. I don't volunteer. I don't do nothing right now. I was just trying to see how I can make mine look a little decent on skills and work. But you want to think somebody answered the question by connecting with the school, something online. I was listening to connect with that thing after the appointment.
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked this question. I'm going to be providing my email in the chat for students because I work with students all the time to help them get started with LinkedIn. I mean, we can literally type out the sections of your LinkedIn together in an online appointment, like a Microsoft Teams or Zoom appointment. I can help you get that appointment scheduled. I can send you a scheduling link to schedule with me. But it just starts by, whoever's at this presentation, the easiest thing is just for you to reach out to me via email. And then I can give you the details about how to schedule that appointment, etc. Okay. But Sheena, I would love to help you get more comfortable with your LinkedIn profile, add more content to your sections, brainstorm with you what could be added, and we can work all of that out in an individual appointment. I'm glad you asked.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you for asking.
Great. So I'm going to keep going through some sections, and then we'll look at some other things we can do within LinkedIn, like the network and jobs. Accomplishments, so any awards, other fun stuff. This could be salesperson of the month from your current job, wide variety of things. And then interest. Notice here we have different tabs: influencers, companies, groups, and schools. I highly recommend adding to your interest here because this will help make you more visible in searches. So for example, I'm part of these groups, right? So the National Business Education Association. So that makes me a first connection with these 670 members. So if one of them were to post a job and I was interested in it, then I would have a first connection to it. It would show up more visible. Other fun stuff, SBDC, Small Business Development Center Network, right? So this is a way of really expanding the number of people in your network very quickly by going ahead and following different companies that are of interest to you or news sources. So here I have Harvard Business Review. By joining groups. Now in LinkedIn, some are private groups that you have to actually be like a member to join, whereas a lot of them are open. So you go through and you search and you find some groups. And the way you would do that is by using this toolbar. And I'll go into that in a minute. All right. So that's a profile overview. From here, I'd like to go to the Jobs tab, unless we have any questions on profile before I wander away. Okay, so jobs. I'm going to just throw in marketing for now. And then we can go ahead and change our location to Columbus, Ohio. And
We do have a couple of questions too, Jennifer, whenever you get a chance.
okay,
Some hand raises. Mhm.
Yeah.
Looks like, I think Jeff, is that correct? Or my apologies, pulling up my participant list. Alex, I'm sorry. Alex, do you want to go ahead?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great. My question was about the profiles. Is there, I see on your profile page that how you said before that it looks very open, welcome to engage with you. So I was wondering what colors are considered appealing to viewers, to someone viewing my page.
Right. So I did take a color theory class here or there, and I've been in brand marketing. So certainly colors have an impact, but depending on your industry, you might notice certain colors end up being used more than others, right? So food service have red because it's a high energy kind of color. Big business tends to have a lot of blues, which is stability and confidence, expertise. Depending on if you're in the some of the sciences might lean more greens, but really I don't think you can go terribly wrong with color. One way to quality check that would be show your profile to a couple other people and just get a quick reaction, make sure nobody like squints and goes, oh, what is this, right? You might want to avoid like a harsh mustard yellow or something. But another thing you could do is look at some of the logos of the types of companies you want to apply for, and you might notice a trend there as well, where you see more of the greens and grays or oranges or whatnot.
Thank you. And then Shenna has
Right
a
here.
question as well. Sorry. Go ahead, Shenna. Oh, did we lose her? We might have lost her. Shenna, are you still there? Okay. Shenna, are you still with us? Okay, she might have turned off audio or something. Yeah.
we can always circle back. Feel free to interrupt, Shanna, whenever you're ready. All right, so looking at the job search area, I wanted to stress how powerful LinkedIn is from a job hunting standpoint. So up here, we had a little jobs icon, and we search marketing, Columbus, Ohio. It gives us this listing and then this expanded view. What's really cool about this is it can show me some of my connections. So for example, here's Digital Marketing Growth Manager, and it shows that I have one connection that works here. So I would want to click on this and find out, okay, John Sherwood. I might want to reach out to John individually and ask, hey, John, I saw this job posting. It piqued my interest. Do you think I'd be a good fit? What can you tell me about the culture? Things like that. Or, hey, John, can I take you out for a coffee, you know, in a post-COVID universe? Could we do a quick Zoom call? I'd love to pick your brain about this opportunity. It's been so long, let's catch up. That kind of thing. So once you have some connections, those connections might also be in a position to help you with referrals. Sometimes employers will offer a financial incentive to their employees to help with that recruiting process. So I might be able to reach out and say, let's see, hey, Brendan, I'm interested in this role. Does your company have a referral program? Would you like to meet and talk about it? Because for all I know, his company might pay him $500 or $1,000 for a good referral into this role. So that's another way to sleuth around and find information. Remember, we don't want to be asking people for the job. We want to be asking people for information or for insights or for opinions at this stage. But as we go through, let's pretend I wanted to apply to this thing. Assuming I'm a decent match. Scroll, 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 lots of information. All right, go ahead and click more. And, all right, oh, now I've lost it. I've gone crazy. Okay, here we go. So our apply button way up at the top. What's nice about LinkedIn is the apply process is incredibly streamlined. Unlike when you go to a company's website and you have to create an account, and then for all you know, you end up with 12 pages worth of retyping your resume and retyping all your experience and filling out additional forms. When you apply for a job on LinkedIn, chances are it will just send your profile and you have the option to attach a file. So in this case, unfortunately, this one's linking us away to a corporate site. But if we could go ahead and find one of these where it gives us a nice quick apply, then we could go ahead and just apply with one click. So here we have Rev1. That is an incubator that helps businesses grow. If we click this in easy apply, all I have to do if I want to attach a resume, and I can go ahead and submit my application. And it'll also usually send a copy of your LinkedIn profile. So this is a lot less time consuming of a process.
That's great.
Okay, so that's a little bit about the jobs. Anything else we want to say about jobs while we're here? Alex, do you have another question?
It's possible he has his hand raised from before.
Okay.
No, there we go.
Cool. Alrighty. Let's see. While we're here, I'd like to share with you guys a couple resources. I'm going to put this in the chat window. And this is part of LinkedIn's University. So it has a whole universe of tips and suggestions for students. So providing a couple links there. This checklist is a nice way to systematically go through and add to our profile. So that's a reminder there. And then if we wanted to take a look at the My Network section, I'm going to wander away here for a minute. So invitations, this is another kind of interesting area where, let's say I'm trying to remember somebody I used to work with. So I type in their name, I find them. I'm going to just make this up. If we were not connected already, there would be a connect option somewhere in this area. But when we look at my network, this is also where I have this invitation. There are conflicting opinions on how you might want to choose to respond to invitations. So one school of thought is to accept all invitations. It's a network. The whole point is to connect to more people. So why not have a broader net and just accept everyone? So some people do that. I'm a little more restrictive in the invitations I accept. I'm in the camp that likes to know everyone I'm connected to. So if somebody were to call me up and say, hey, Jen, how do you know this person? I noticed you were connected on LinkedIn. I'd like to be in a position to answer that question and say, oh, we met at this trade show. We had a great conversation about such and such. Oh, that's one of my students. We had this class, that kind of thing. So how you choose to approach that is entirely up to you. I know other people who are kind of in a middle camp who want to know their connections, but have the exception. If someone works as a recruiter or in human resources and sends an invite, they always accept, right? Yes, recruiter. I would like to be connected to more and more recruiters. It's a job hunting tool. Let's do it. So that's another way. So you can think about your own perspective of how you want to go about building your network that way.
Mm-hmm. One other quick tip for the job seekers out there, or people who have like a side hustle business and they're looking to attract clients. When you guys are completing and updating your profile, there is a setting that you can select that says that you are seeking, like currently seeking opportunities, and it will create like a wraparound thing around your profile photo. I don't know if Jennifer has any of those people in her connections, but we might be able to show
I'm
you.
looking for one. I know I do.
It's just a nice way to make it completely obvious that you are looking for new opportunities. But you do want to be careful because if you are open to work like Josh is right there, you want to not really put that indicator on your profile if you're job searching and you don't want your current employer to know that. So, I mean, if you are job searching and you're okay with your current employer knowing that, or you don't have a current employer, you know, by all means, feel free to put that on there. But if you're kind of job searching on the sly, I wouldn't put that out for all to see because your employer is probably regularly looking at the team's profiles. Just an FYI. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? I don't know, Jennifer, if we want to show them like the home feed and how to make a post as well, we could do that.
So this is just like a Facebook page. This is where I could post, let's say I'm at a conference today, or if I wanted to promote this talk that we're having right now, I may say something like, just had a great session talking about LinkedIn with Columbus State students. And then just like Twitter, you'd want to add some hashtags. So hashtag higher education, hashtag student success, hashtag LinkedIn learnings, right, or whatnot. And those hashtags help make your post be more visible and searchable in the universe. But you can add photos, you can add video, all that fun stuff. So as you go through, this is my news feed. You can see some of the posts other people have put out there.
And if you're just getting your feet wet, students, with posting content like that on your LinkedIn page, you know, one great idea is if you attend a conference or even like an information session like this where you learn something, you know, if you read a great article that has to do with your career field of interest, just resharing that article for others to read and then placing a comment about it, you know, got some great insights from this article from Forbes.com today or something like that. You know, one strategy is to post fairly regularly and maybe even have like, you know, an idea in mind of how often you want to put a post out into the universe and to vary your posts. So maybe one day you're sharing an article, maybe the next week you're posting an example of your work. Maybe the next week you're posting something that you attended that was industry relevant, so that you have like this variety of posts and that you also have a regular schedule in which you're regularly active and posting as well.
A common theme with posts often has to do with starting and ending different job opportunities also. So for example, here's someone saying, hey, I'm starting this role, I'm so excited. And usually on the way out of a job, someone will post like a thank you so much kind of message of, you know, it's with mixed feelings that I'm leaving my current role. Everybody's been so great. I've learned so much. I'll miss you dearly, but I'm also excited about this new opportunity and off I go. That kind of thing. So those kind of bookmarking your different employment experiences that way too.
Mm-hmm. Also, just, you know, in that good networking practice, best practices for networking style, just making sure students that you are reciprocal on LinkedIn. So if you have connections that comment and like on things, like things that you've posted, be sure to regularly be commenting and liking things that your coworkers and people in your network have posted. Because it's one thing to build a network and it's another thing to strengthen and reinforce your network. So the more you're active on there, commenting on other people's things and things like that really helps you to keep that network strong.
Right. In the field of sales, a lot of times people use birthdays as a reason to stay connected with people. So just like on Facebook, where you get the daily notifications of here are all the people you know who have birthdays today, sending that quick congratulations on the new job type message keeps a connection alive. It's like, hey, I remember this person. I really like this person. Like, I wish I saw this person more, but you know, we've got other stuff going on. But if this person ever needed me, I'd be happy to hear from them. And keeping that dialogue alive.
Mm-hmm. For sure. In the last kind of 5 minutes, can we loop around and see if anybody has any final questions? Because I know our time will be up here pretty shortly. We can do hand raise, or you guys can even just feel free to unmute yourselves if you have some questions.
Another thought on articles, I can tell you personally, for me, my first decade in LinkedIn, I was not very active in the article posting and reposting or sharing information that way. So everybody can pick and choose the different parts of LinkedIn that really they want to focus on for the immediate future. And then as you see more and more rewards come out of it, continue to expand your footprint and effort in it. I don't view using LinkedIn as a job. It's something I enjoy doing, and I find it to be very useful and a great way to keep in touch with people. There are so many people in my network that are people I really like, but maybe I don't have their cell phone number, or I could scroll through and say, oh, I knew this person back when they worked somewhere else. That's interesting. They're now over here. So it's really interesting. Early in your career, those first few years, you might work at one place, and then over time, the people you work with end up moving to other companies. And before you know it, with time, people have naturally moved throughout their networks, and now you know people at a bunch of places, all from that initial experience. So it's really important to have good, positive working relationships because Columbus is one really big small town.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Any questions, students? We have about 4 minutes left. All right. Oh, let's see, learned a lot. Thank you. Well, Jennifer's done an amazing job of kind of going through the basics. If you want to, Jennifer, I can put up the information about how students can schedule with Career Services. So if you want to schedule with Career Services, we are doing, like I said, appointments during these times that are virtual. We're doing phone appointments if that's better for you, but mostly MS Teams virtual appointments. We do have a daily live chat on our website if you want to check us out and just chat with us throughout the day. But to schedule an appointment, you can, like I said, email me. I put my email in the chat. You can also schedule through the Starfish system. You can give us a call to schedule 287-2782. And as I mentioned, we help with LinkedIn profile, but we also help with job interview practice, resume review, cover letter review. Anything related to a student's job search, we can assist. We have a job board with job postings that we keep updated all the time. So feel free to connect with us. I wanted to thank you guys for attending today. I wanted to thank Jennifer for going through her entire profile with us and sharing so much great information. And you guys were a great audience. And I don't know,